Hello, welcome to Lemon Studios, where we talk anything and everything entertainment. I'm, of course, Lemon himself, Zeke Lamone, and this is my review for Gladiator 2. But before we get into that, let's get the house clean out of the way, shall we? I'm going to leave a like, comment below, let me know your thoughts on Gladiator 2, and of course, hit that subscribe button as it helps me grow into my YouTube career. I would greatly appreciate it. Now, all that out of the way, let's get into the review, shall we? So, Gladiator 2 is a movie that kind of has a polarizing reception right now when it comes to audiences. Some people really love it. Some people don't love it at all. To see the reaction coming out of this, it really reminds me of just in the day and age that we live in, right? We live in a world where, you can do a long-awaited sequel to a beloved movie. And not only that, you could do a sequel to it and you can be better. The latest example is Top Gun Maverick. So when you have that, and then you have a movie like Gladiator, a movie where if you do consider yourself a movie fan, a movie buff, movie enthusiast, whatever you want to call us, is a movie that you just have to watch. And it's also a movie where someone like me, if you tell them, hey, I've never seen Gladiator, they turn at you really quick and say, what? And it's almost depending on what you're doing or where you're at. You're going to stop whatever you're doing and you're going to watch that movie. You're going to find it and you're going to click play because it is just that good. So when you have all those going against it, the expectations for this movie, particularly Gladiator 2, were so high. And I would honestly say that is a disadvantage that this movie comes at. Because Gladiator 2, to me, is a comparison to another beloved franchise that was a sequel that just didn't live up to those expectations. And that is Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Now, before y'all click away and you're like, oh, well, the movie's awful. No, hear me out. Just hear me out before you completely click away. If Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, you change the characters' names and you change the title, hell, you just call it Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. You don't even put Indiana Jones in it at all. And again, you change the character's name. I think the reception coming out of that movie is, yeah, it was a good little action flick. Adventure flick. I think it's the same with Gladiator 2. Is this as good as the original? No, but I really don't think it was ever going to be because Gladiator was such a special movie. And Top Gun Maverick was an anomaly. It was something that was just no one expected to happen, and then it happened, and now that is the expectation, and it's just a little bit unfair. If this was just a normal period piece, again, I think the reception is, hey, that's a pretty good period piece movie, pretty fun. I think that was really enjoyable. Not one of the best ever, but hey, it's one I will remember moving forward. The performances in this are absolutely amazing. You got Paul Mescal, who is running the ship, and he's the lead actor. And he does a phenomenal job in his performances, given the material that he has, and we'll get into that in a little bit. You got Joseph Quinn as one of the two emperors. Again, we're going to get more into that a little bit, because I did have an issue with the emperors in this film. Pedro Pascal, who always brings it and is absolutely stellar in this. Denzel Washington, he could phone it in and probably still get an Oscar nomination, right? Just a who's who of performers in this film. And again, it's directed by Ridley Scott and written by, I think Ridley Scott had a hand in writing it too, because I think he wrote the first one. I'm not really remembering that properly, so correct me in the comments if I am wrong. And Ridley Scott is someone who's been on a very hit or miss streak. To me, I still am a fan of his work. I just think, he probably just needs to update some things. What those things are, I can't properly articulate, but I enjoyed The Last Duel. Hell, I even kind of liked Napoleon to a degree. I liked his Alien, I like Prometheus and Covenant. I don't know what else he has done, but he does still, to me, I still have a good time and I am very well entertained by his films. And this is another one. I'm like, yeah, I had a good time. I like Ridley Scott's directing. And the only downfall when it comes to this movie, and this is where we're going to get into some of the problems that I have with Joseph Quinn and Paul Mescal's character, is that in the original Gladiator, it was just much more focused, right? You know who the good guy was. You knew who the bad guy was. You knew what we were building to, and you knew what the story was. This movie has a lot going on, and it just, to me, has way too many characters. Joseph Quinn, again, who really just goes for it, really hams it up, and, he's one of the emperors, because there's two, because they were twin brothers. And I can see in the writing room, now, I don't know if, this has ever happened before when there was twins and they were both emperors or whatever. But I can only imagine, because I assume this hasn't happened, that Ridley Scott was like, we've never seen like two emperors both at the throne at the same time. That could be pretty cool to see. And after watching the movie, I think there was a reason why, because I honestly really don't think there needed to be two. You could have cut one of the emperors completely. Or maybe you could change the second emperor into being another character, because Joseph Quinn is really the true emperor. Like, they make it very clear on who's really running things here. Like, there's somewhat of a team, but one of them definitely has the final say, and it is Joseph Quinn's character. And you probably could have gave that other emperor character a different type of title. Maybe it could have just been a brother or whatever, and you could have probably still done what you wanted to do with those said characters in that movie. Or again, you could just cut it out, and honestly, you probably could have still executed what you wanted to do with it. Another thing that this movie does that is honestly very interesting, I was very engaged throughout, is that you really don't know who the big bad is, and you don't really know what the overall story is, because this movie is part revenge flick. It's part, a hero's journey coming back home. It is part, taking down the anarchy, fighting the power rebel type movie. It's all of those different things in it. And within that, each one of the main, because you know who the bad guys are, you just don't know who the main bad guy is until later on. And that was fun to watch and try to figure out, like, well, I could see this being the main event, I could see this being the main event, and I could see this being the main event. And ultimately, to me, the main event that I was most drawn to, where, again, I'm not trying to spoil anything by any means, which is honestly going to be really hard for this review for me to properly articulate every problem that I have with it, is that there is, two characters where in the Colosseum, they're both gladiators, if you will. And they're both pretty much good people. There's Paul, who's our good guy, and then there's the other person that, who does some bad things to Paul Mescal's character, and you can understand why he wants the revenge. But then once you get to know why they're doing what they're doing and understand what their thought process is behind it, you're like, oh, they're not really such a bad person either. And it really makes it interesting on when they do eventually clash, where you have this conflict of, well, I really don't want either one to go. And also with both of them being, led or managed, to use wrestling terms, that are just bad guys. They're one of the main villains on each of their respective corners. So it's a very interesting dichotomy of, you got two bad guys managing two good guys, and these good guys got to fight each other. And it just makes it really conflicting. I feel like if we would have just kept it to that with, one of the other subplots that we were building in this movie as the background, I think we could have had something really special here. But no, we didn't do that. And we went another direction, and the direction that we went was overall fine. It was really good because, again, the performances that we had behind it, along with the director. Now, back to Paul, and again, I'm horrible with character names, but his overall arc is that, he has this rage, right? He is very angry, and, he's very blindsided by that. And again, he has, I hate this person, I hate this person, I hate this person, he's really letting that drive his way through. And it was a lot of times that I felt like in this movie where, when we learned that, hey, this person is bad, like, what I was saying before, where, someone did something bad to him, so he wants revenge. And then we, as an audience, when we're away from Paul's character, and we're with this other character, and we're like, oh, you know what? They're not so bad after all. They're pretty good. And then when we cut back to him, he's all of a sudden, has a change of heart. And honestly, I would want him to get there in the movie, but I would want to see him get there, if that makes any sense. I didn't want to just cut back to okay, well, I knew he was they're both supposed to be good guys, so my main character should just know too. No, I want to see him go on that journey as well, and I want to see him with that inner conflict of I really want to get revenge on you, but I could see that you were just doing this and you were just doing that. Okay, I guess I could put my sword down, and then we could see that arc all the way through. And it just really felt like checking off notes for the most part. But besides that, again, action is brutal, and it's very lived in. I went, ooh, a lot of times. And I was in a packed theater, and I was really concerned that I was disturbing the experience for the people around me. So I do apologize if you were in my theater, because again, it really brought a reaction on me, and I'm usually pretty good at being able to stay quiet throughout a film when I'm in the theater. When I'm at home, of course, I'll make any noises that I please. But in the theater, yeah, I'm usually able to stay quiet, just go, you know what I mean? But no, I actually had to go, ooh, a good chunk of time throughout this film. Very lived in. Performances are amazing, regardless of what the characters are given. Denzel Washington is probably the biggest standout of it. I mean, surprise, right? But yeah, overall, I just feel like there was just too much going on. And honestly, as much as I liked going through the trying to choose, all right, who's going to be the main bad guy? What are we really building to towards the main event? The directions that we end up going with, I was kind of more attached to another storyline overall, where I feel like, yeah, that could have been a really interesting main event if we would have done that. And also, I just think there was just too many characters that we probably could have cut. And honestly, with how this movie was, if they wanted to keep the 2 hour and 30-minute runtime, again, if you cut a character out and you give it to Paul to give us to understand why his sudden character changes on some of the how the characters are realized, and we get to see that go through his arc to make him feel more human, as opposed to just not necessarily robotic. It's just, okay, now we're cool, okay, now we're mad, and all these different things to buy his emotions a little bit more, I guess is what I would say. If we could have just, again, mainly if we just cut that other emperor, I really did not care for him whatsoever. To the borderline where I almost do feel something towards him, but like not in a good way. But I really overall didn't really care for that other emperor character at all. If we would have just cut that out and we would have gave it to our main character to, again, make him feel more human, then I think, again, maybe not as special at Gladiator, but I think worthy of the Gladiator title. So, again, overall, if you didn't really love this movie, and if it comes simply down to it just didn't live up to the first one, I guess I can understand that. Does it earn the Gladiator title? Maybe not. I'm not going to fully argue with you on that too, but I will argue with you that for a period piece and for an action period piece, I think this is a damn good time and worthy of you going to the theater to go see. So if I had to rank it on the lemon scale, where it goes sour lemon at the bottom, expired store-bought lemonade, and then store-bought lemonade where we do start to have the positives. It's good, but hey, there's a lot of problems to it. Lemonade, freshly squeezed lemonade, and then strawberry lemonade at the very top, because that's the best kind of lemonade. I honestly think Gladiator 2 is like freshly squeezed lemonade to lemonade border is in between those two. I really do think it's worthy of the theater. I think it's worthy of paying the primetime dollar amount. So yeah, give it a chance if you plan on going to see it. If you have seen it, comment below, let me know. Leave a like if you made it this far. I do greatly appreciate it. And hit that subscribe button, because we have a lot of stuff heading your way very soon, especially 2025. We're going to be very, very busy for this channel, not channelable. So yeah, hit that subscribe button to see the growth as we continue down this road. And until next time, guys, I'll see you here at Lemon Studios.